Can we be louder, man? Are we all set? That's like it. Okay, we're going to have a little bit of chat, a little bit of fun. I must promise, most of the people you see here are walking wallets. You can sell to them. So those who are interested in having a one-on-one with me, I've got my team outside. Actually, you can pay them and I'll set it up actually for you guys. Okay, thank you. Welcome here in this panel. Okay, good. Quite a lot. How many of you are from large companies here? Okay, 1, 2. How many of you are representing SMEs or scale-up companies? Okay, so primarily what I'm learning is that around 90% are startups and SME. Let me just share something that's happening across the globe and very interesting. And then I'm going to bring it back to the people here. So Yale did a time series study, and Richard Foster was involved in that. And then they came out with few analyses. This is what they're predicting. They're saying that by 2020, the average age of S&P 500 company is going to come down to 6 years. And by 2027, 75% of S&P 500 companies is going to get disrupted. Now, they did it only for America, but I can promise you that we are actively engaged with a lot of large corporations. And what we are learning is that they are on the edge. And they're on the edge primarily because, you saw a lot of technology that was being talked about. One of them was robotic process automation, actually. And I'm going to ask Manish and also Avnish to talk about it, actually. Especially, this technology is going to disrupt entire BPO and a contact center industry. Whatever a bunch of people can do, it's a software robot that can actually deliver without any human intervention. This is just one part of it. Everything you can conceive that you feel, you do it manually. There is somebody out there trying to find out how to automate that. Just to give you a perspective, okay? If you go to GEMS, that's Global Entrepreneurship Monitor, that's their survey which says that every year, 1.78 million new tech startup gets added to the world. That is the pace. The disruption is coming to you. I've got the esteemed guest here. They all happen to be my friends. So I was just telling them it's going to be an old boys network, but we're going to keep it entertaining, actually. So we've got Bala. Bala represents Managing Director of Microsoft Accelerator. He understands very well the new startups that's coming. And his job is not only to do that, but to also open up the entire Microsoft global network so that they can collaborate and come out with better offering for their large customer set. Am I right, Bala? Then we have Avnish. Avnish is the Managing Director of Accenture Innovation Team. And I and Avnish have interacted quite a lot of time. And he was telling me that we are actively engaging. That was a couple of months back with 50 startups only in India. And I'm sure this would have gone up by now, actually. Just to find out what are the innovations coming, which they can collaborate, work with their partner and offer it to their prospects and clients, actually. Just, in case you want to understand what's happening and why there is a necessity for large corporates to engage and work with startup collaborating. We have Manish Saxena. Manish Saxena is the VP for transformation, workforce transformation for FirstSource. It's a publicly listed company. And Manish also is a growth enabler client. So we've been working together, and I have a fairly good idea what they're trying to do, actually. In fact, I'll share a bit of an idea in terms of an organization and how Manish and us are collaborating, actually. So we caught up with the entire leadership team of FirstSource, and they're saying is that the way the disruption is coming, we need to reinvent ourselves and build FirstSource 2.0, where we can come out with the 8 new product before our existing product become irrelevant, actually. Am I right, Manish? So I have a basic question for you, actually. I put the context in place, actually. How serious is a problem you see that startups are posing that can potentially disrupt large corporations? Do you want to go first? Sure.
Thanks for the context there, Rajiv. I think we meet much more often everywhere, right? So I think it's great to see the ecosystem come together. I was just telling Avnish, yesterday afternoon, we were in the same hall together on the IoT conference, right? So it's fantastic to see that ecosystem is coming together and sharing thoughts. So I thought I should just preface it with that. Startups, I would say, about 15 years ago, or not 15, maybe 12 years ago, I was with Oracle in the Valley. Let me just give you an example there. And I was running CRM product line. It was a good time, fun time. And there was this company called Salesforce.com, and they were selling to small businesses and all that. So someone came and said, hey, in our competitive landscape, I see SAP, I see Siebel. At the time we didn't buy Siebel yet, Oracle didn't buy it. And I see a lot of all big companies. What about Salesforce.com? And everybody in the room laughed. Everybody in the room said, are you kidding? Are you crazy? Who are they and who are we? Look at us. We are like elephants and behemoths, and look at that small company there. Believe me, in 5 years later, they were our biggest competitor. And suddenly it kind of felt like, wow, how did that happen? And there are some key factors. I don't know if we have time to talk about it, maybe a little later. But I think startup do bring in a lot more innovation with the speed with which they move. Number two, it's a flat world with respect to access to technology, access to global markets, access to customers. All the walled gardens have come down primarily. Anybody with a laptop and an internet connection can actually put together a service, and everyone is giving free credits, right? Even Azure is giving credits, Amazon is giving credits. Everybody is willing to support startups to create an experience like what Mr. Vaiti said, online, which is no different than a billion-dollar company. Nobody on the internet would know how big you are. Given this kind of a level playing ground, startups are becoming very, very serious contenders on the innovation side. The second reason why it's also happening is because most of the emerging market spaces, they look tiny at the very beginning, but very quickly are evolving to become large spaces. Like, take Uber, or you can open an app and then pick something up, and then you don't even need to buy a car. And suddenly, your competition landscape is completely changed and shifts, right? So these are spaces where startups play the best because they are anti-incumbent. They can take on a position which doesn't have any, the past baggage that a large company would have to contend with. So this gives them the ability to think fresh and bring out that new innovation. And that's what is exciting about this particular space. I would look at, from a large company perspective, I would look at startups not as like individually, because then you would look at them as too small, but startups as a swarm of bees compared to an elephant on the other side. Sure. So, and that's the power and that's where the ecosystem also start to play a much bigger role. Because individually, I think it's a hard problem for startups to take on, but collectively as an ecosystem strengthens, and that's what we are seeing and witnessing in India today. I do see this power becoming a lot more collective, which is coming together.
Fantastic, man. So I have there is a slide just came up, actually, just to echo that sentiment. How many of you use Netflix? Okay, quite a few of you. Have you heard of a company called Blockbuster? Okay, so in 2008, the CEO of Blockbuster made an interesting comment, actually, a bit like Salesforce, saying that Netflix doesn't even to come into competition. Do you know that Blockbuster filed for bankruptcy in 2012? That's how fast something starts and bites you. So I have a question for you, Avnish. I mean, you have created your own ecosystem of startup for Accenture. You are going to places like Israel to seek these innovations. You're taking innovations from here. Accenture is a giant, right? I mean, if anybody has to worry, surely they don't. They teach people how to, how to safeguard and how to do digital transformation. Help us. What's the need for Accenture to drive and collaborate with startup, and what startups needs to do to collaborate with you?
Yeah, thanks, Raji. So it's an excellent question. I am asked this question every time in a forum. Why Accenture? Because Accenture is seen as a leader in the digital world in terms of both market share and mind share. So I think that probably also has the answer somewhere inside it, that Accenture is obsessed with what we call rotating to the new. That is the number one metric on which Accenture's performance and all the managing directors' performance are assessed, which means that how much of our revenue is coming from digital solutions and technologies. Some time back, it used to be 20-25%. Today is more than 50%. More than 50% of Accenture's global revenue now comes from digital. If we had to get to that number just by organic growth, that would have never happened. Right? So, and I think in the last keynote as well, we were discussing about digital talent. Digital talent is scarce, and that is the reason you need to look outside your organization to get that. And we are doing that through partnering, through investing, and through acquiring. We partner with startups. As Rajiv said, we have more than 50 startups today who we are actively working in India. We have about 700 of them on our radar. We work with 50 of them. A lot of them come from my friend here, Bala's accelerator. That significantly helps, and a few of them come from Rajiv as well in terms of his recommendation and his platform. So this obsession for rotating to the new is what is forcing Accenture to go and work with the disruptive startups. Accenture has a few capabilities and competencies which anybody can die for. The number one is client relationships. Accenture's client relationships are legendary. We work with all the CXOs, the top Fortune 500 companies. The other thing which Accenture has is high performance delivered, right? The obsession on delivery. So with these two and the ability to scale and domain expertise in industries, we are well situated on that front. But when you look into innovation and when you look into agility, that a big organization, whether it is Accenture, IBM, Microsoft, or any other organization, will always struggle because it's a big ship. It needs to steer, and it takes time to do that. And that is why the startups bring these two most important things: innovation, agility, fearlessness. They are not bounded by any baggage, as we were discussing earlier. So those aspects become very critical for Accenture to keep Accenture on its toes, right? I lead Accenture Ventures and Open Innovation, but my unofficial title is the Chief Disrupting Officer. I am disrupting Accenture because if I don't do it, somebody else will. So it's better that I do it. Now, in terms of how startups can work with Accenture, so we have been doing this for the last 2.5 years, so we have some pretty deep insights and learnings from our experience, right? The first thing which I like to tell startups is that you need to be very sure who in the organization you are working with. There are a lot of these innovation officers in many big corporates. They are all well intended. They have good intentions. The problem is they don't have funding, because the funding is with the business units. And the innovation officer's job finishes by getting a startup inside the organization and getting a POC done. After the POC, they are not interested or they can't do anything. That's where the business unit comes in. So you need to make sure that if you are going and spending time in a corporate, you need to have very good visibility in terms of who the business sponsor is. And if that is not there, then you need to rethink. Because startups, one of the most valuable things which startups have is time. And you can't afford to go and get de-accelerated in an accelerator. Let me put it that way. Now, how Accenture solves this problem is that, we are the bridge maker between Accenture and the startups. So if I have to go and do a proof of concept with a startup partner with my business unit people, I will always have it in writing from the business unit people that what will be the critical success factors for the POC. And if the startup is able to match those critical success factors, what will be the next step in terms of implementation of their technology at scale? This is done in writing before I get a startup in front of my business unit people. The third, which is very important as well, which you need to look into, is the focus on delivery. As I was telling about Accenture, Accenture is high performance delivered. We are known in our client set about the capability of our delivery. The same is not true with startups. Startups have great ideas and they come up with a product. But when you put them in a big client like an Accenture client, a huge, financial services organization or a mining company or a, construction company, the ability to deliver from the startup working with Accenture is weak. And that means that Accenture has to do a lot of hand holding and also a lot of managing the client expectation when we take the startup to the client. So the ability to deliver, the ability to scale, because Accenture's clients are not SMEs, unfortunately. They can't afford us. It is all the big Fortune 500 companies and all the big Indian companies. And they all have big geographic expansion. So when a startup is going to go and work there, you can expect that they're going to take you in different cities, if not different countries. And if your product and your platform is not able to scale to that requirement, then we have a problem. So, these are, and we'll talk a little bit more about that, but these are some of the key lessons which we have learned in terms of our partnership with startups. We have had some significant wins together, and we celebrate those wins. Personally, if you look at my LinkedIn profile, about 2.5 years back, there was no startup founder or CEO in my LinkedIn profile. Now they outnumber the corporate 2:1. So I think most of the people mistake me as a startup guy now, which I like actually. I like to feel young and be an entrepreneur. But yeah, that's it. Accenture is completely obsessed and committed to working with the startup community. Yes, we do have our own criteria. Criteria are very important for us. We do work with B2B matured startups, right? So we don't work with pre-revenue or a time when the startup is trying to just figure out the product market fix or trying to get their product all right. Because we can't take the startup to our client and then make them a guinea pig, for the startup to get their product validated. So we will work with matured startups. We will work with startups which have at least $500,000 of revenue. But once you get that done, sky is the limit with startups. Just last point is, we don't just take the startups to our client. Accenture itself is a huge client for the startups. And I must tell you that a couple of startups, one of them coming from Bala's cohort as well, they do up of $1 million revenue in India just with Accenture as a client. So that's our commitment. Those are the numbers. I can talk a lot about that offsite, but I hope that helps, Rajiv.
Thanks for doing that, actually. So I'll come back to you with a few more questions, actually. Manish, new journey into startup. I have a bit of insight into it, but I think the message of disruption is loud and clear. Can you just share the reason why Firstsource started this journey that they want to collaborate with startup, and what are the kind of startups you guys are looking to collaborate with?
Sure. Firstsource is predominantly a business service provider company. And as digital wave is coming up, and we see that customer experience is something which is going to be the way forward. It's not going to be transactions, it's not going to be customer service, it's going to be customer experience. And when we look at customer experience as a whole, it always means that small bits of work that is being done to manage customer service has to be more efficient, and we need to move up the value chain. When we need to move up the value chain, what is very important is that we look beyond customer service. And when we look beyond customer service, there are a lot of business problems that our customers are facing, our clients are facing rather. And the whole idea of putting up an ecosystem of startups is to figure out what are the technological things, technological changes, technological solutions that are available now, which were not available a couple of years back. How these technologies and technological solutions can be taken quickly to our customers and clients